do the sex.
Today's locker room talk topic is boob sex, titty fucking, mammary intercourse. Those are, in fact, all terms used to describe the act of a man sticking his cock between two tits to get off. And you may be asking, is this really still a thing? I mean, I think it was popular in the 80s. At least that's for some reason embedded in my mind. We are here to answer that question. And we are also going to be answering the 5 W's that writers like to use. I am a writer. The who, what, when, where, and why the fuck you'd want to do it. Now, listeners, I have shared many times in the past that I am a relatively small-breasted woman. So I have zero experience with titty fucking or boob sex, breast play in such a way that your boobs are used as a fleshlight. But fortunately, one of my very best friends in the whole wide world has giant boobs. She's all boobs. In fact, many times while recording these episodes together, we have had to stop and start over and move her mic around so that it won't bump into her giant breasts. So Ruby, aka Deanna, is here to help us create the Boob Sex 101 podcast for you guys. She is going to walk us through what it's all about and help us understand this particular sex act. So, Deanna.
Yes.
You've been on lots of episodes with me. You have been on what is now, I would say, currently one of our most popular episodes. Which one is that?
That would be the semen facials.
The semen facials. Guys, it is one of my favorite episodes for so many reasons. Mostly because of, just how weird people get about the topic. And then, of course, through our podcast, I got comfortable with it. So if you have not listened to semen facials, you got to go back through our past episodes and cue it up. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Definitely not a disappointment. No.
And believe it or not, it's going to tie into today's podcast, but we'll get there one thing at a time. Let's raise our glasses. Let's talk about sex.
Let's do it.
All right, folks, let's get started. I like to, ahead of these podcasts, I like to be a little sciencey about it, bring some integrity to these conversations. I like to come at you with some facts. I got to tell you, scientists, researchers really haven't bothered with boob sex. They just haven't. I mean, I looked and I looked and I looked, and Deanna, Ruby, you watched me.
I did. I witnessed.
And we found nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, I did find a whole bunch of new porn sites that I'm probably going to check out. But there wasn't a lot of factoids out there. And a lot of the articles I tried to read on it were pretty, basic, vanilla filling. Not that there is anything wrong with, again, we're not vanilla sex shaming. In fact, I would say boob sex.
Vanilla.
This is definitely, but don't worry, for our kinky listeners, we're going to come up with ways to make it kinky for you. Do not worry.
Well, I mean, actually, I think boob sex is a vanilla kink.
Oh, tell me about vanilla kink.
Well, being part of the kink community and kind of knowing what vanilla is, I think boob sex is pretty mellow for those that are kinksters that, are into the kink scene.
Right.
But I think for someone who's vanilla, boob sex is kind of we're going to do that.
Right. It's a step above just basic sex. So you're right. It's a great way for, I think oftentimes vanilla couples or partners often want to figure out how to spice things up.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a podcast on how to spice up your sex life. I don't know if we covered boob sex in it, but this would be like something I feel like people who are more comfortable and who enjoy vanilla sex but want to get a little spice it up, this would be something you could consider doing, right?
Definitely.
And I say that as being someone who's never had it. So for me, it like I will most likely, we'll see by the end of the podcast, add it to my sex bucket list. But I'm speaking from no knowledge, guys. Just I'm talking a bunch of shit right now, basically. So let's start. Let's start with who is having titty sex? Ruby, tell me.
Anyone who wants to.
All right, but
itty bitty titties.
That's I guess
big titties.
Can you do this
average
with
titties?
You can do this with itty bitty titties. You feel
Of course
like
you can.
You feel like I mean, the only place I've ever seen this happen is on porn, and definitely not with itty bitty tittied women.
Well, porn really is kind of like anything on the screen. It's an exaggeration and it's not really reality.
Right. So this act, in case anyone doesn't quite know exactly what it looks like, that how we are going to talk about the who is, I mean, it does require a person with boobs and a person then with a cock. Now, I suppose a dildo could be used to do this. I just thought of that, and you just clarified it.
Someone wearing a strap-on that does not have a penis themselves could definitely have a strap-on on and titty fuck someone.
Yeah.
Because for those of you who have not dove into the realm of the titty fuck, you might have the idea that it's mainly for a man's pleasure.
I did have that idea.
But it's very pleasurable for a woman. So
it is?
Yes.
Okay.
As someone who has experience in this topic, yes, I actually have a lot of pleasure for that.
Do you get titty fucked regularly? Is it part of your regular rotation of sex?
It is not part of my regular rotation, but when it pops out there, it's
a special occasion.
I mean, or it's my partner might say they want to fuck my tits, and of course, well, yeah. Or maybe I'm like, oh God, I really want that between my tits.
Yeah, so I guess that's part of the who initiates this kind of thing. You're saying the boob owner, the woman, sometimes asks to be titty fucked.
Yes.
I mean,
so both parties involved could be the initiators.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have a hard time picturing that, but maybe I'll understand it. I mean, I don't know. Well, we'll get there. I just don't know.
Well, I think initially, so let's say it's the breast owner.
Right.
It's their first encounter. More than likely, it'll probably be suggested by their partner.
Right.
Or, like yourself, maybe you'll be the initiator after this because it's going to be on your bucket list.
Yeah, I've already expressed to my partner that I think I'm going to have to be titty fucked.
So even if the breast owner has not had, maybe they're going to listen today and go, oh man, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And, so really it can be either or who initiates it.
All right. I can attest, listeners, that I'm probably going to initiate my first experience.
Let's cheers to you initiating.
Yes. We'll have to do a follow-up.
Oh, yes.
On how it goes. So I want to move on to, because some of you may be questioning exactly what are we talking about when it comes to titty. We're calling it boob sex.
So so it is squeezing the boobs together to create kind of a slit.
A slit, exactly.
For there to be penetrated.
Yeah.
So much like using a fleshlight
or your butt cheeks.
Or your butt cheeks, right. It just happens to be your boobs.
Yes.
Some boobs do wrap completely.
Yours,
around,
I was going to
like
say
mine.
yours, I think swallow a cock whole.
So mine do engulf a penis.
Engulf, that's a good word.
But there's still pleasure even if you don't. I mean, because you can everybody can squeeze their titties.
She's sitting here pushing her tits together as though you all can see. But only I can see this. I'm like, I can't. I'm now.
See,
I'm
can.
pushing. Oh
Look.
my God, I could.
See?
I could.
Yes.
I just looked down, pushed my tits in. Yeah. I mean, I think I could get it good on two sides. Of the cock. Anyways, but what about women who, there are women with even smaller breasts than mine. How would they go about creating a canal?
I mean, you've got, from my experience, even before my boobs were big.
You were titty fucking before your boobs were big?
Well, no, but, okay, so I don't know. Maybe I massaged mine because I was actually a late bloomer, everybody, believe it or not.
You caught up.
I never thought I was going to get boobs. And so I had these little training bra boobs forever until the summer before my sophomore year. And then that summer, by the end of the summer, I was a C cup.
Oh.
It hurt like hell.
Really?
But I had read in 17 magazine or something about massaging your boobs to stimulate growth.
Well, maybe it worked. Now I wish I had read that fucking article.
So I would every night I would massage, and the flesh is pretty movable.
The flesh is movable. I would say this too. As I'm visualizing it, the cock could slide against at least that chest area between the two tits. All right. So now we know the who is doing what. This could actually be, I guess coming into this conversation, I didn't think about the fact that, queer women could do it. And we'll get to the why at the end. Why would a queer woman want to do it? Why would a queer woman want to put a strap-on and titty fuck another woman? So we'll get to that conversation. We are going to move on. Deanna, what are some tips and tricks for making this fun and exciting? Because I've already imagined up some things that
Well, number one, lube is important.
Would lotion suffice?
Massage oil
would be okay. And would that be okay for the cock if it's a...
they have massage oils that are okay for... yeah.
You don't want to dry hump the boobs is what you're saying.
No, because that's going to kind of be a little friction.
Right, for both people.
Right.
Okay, so you lube up the boobs.
Yep. One way to, once you give it a go a time or two, what is really fun is putting in some fellatio with it.
Right.
So, as that penis comes peeking through your peaks, you can lick it. Suck it.
Well, so I imagine that isn't always possible for all penis boob combinations, or is it? All right. I'm gonna hold on a second, guys. I'm going to see if I feel like that is something. I don't know. Yeah, I could get there. I wouldn't have to come up very far.
Right.
Huh.
I mean, I guess it would depend also on the position you're in.
Right.
So of course you could be laying on your back.
Yeah, let's skip it. We were gonna do the positions kind of later on in this conversation, but I think it goes well with the tips and tricks. As I'm trying to visualize being titty fucked, my first visualization was me laying on my back, in which case my partner would straddle me. Is that, and I'm like, would that be comfortable for my partner? Or is that more difficult? Is that what kind of positions are good for this?
I mean, it's comfortable. I mean, they're straddling is, if it's a comfortable thing.
That'd be sexy. It
is sexy.
I do enjoy one thing I think I've realized in the last year. I enjoy looking up at my partner while doing sexual acts. There's something like I like the visual stimulation. I like this sort of dominant position,
Right.
And being able to take it all in while things are happening.
Right. I was going to say, if you like to up the level of things and maybe you have your hands tied.
Oh.
Because
You're
if he's
restrained, but then you can't squeeze your tits together.
But he can squeeze them while he is titty fucking them.
I see. So you could be restrained on a bed. See, now that takes it. So that takes
it
it
to another level.
That takes it from like spicing up your vanilla bedroom life to integrating it into your BDSM kink life.
Yep.
That's hot.
So, that's the great thing about titty fucks. They are good for everybody. Whether you're vanilla or kinky as fuck, you can always titty fuck.
All right. So I will say this, guys. When I was visualizing titty fucking, and I'm like, well, how do I get pleasure out of it? I have only, believe it or not, in the last couple of years, well, maybe the last year and a half, started to really enjoy nipple stimulation. I'm not sure why. So I was like, oh yeah, I could like push my boobs together and stimulate my nipples, and that might be super sexy. But then I thought, what about like little nipple clamps on, putting little nipple clamps on while it's happening?
Or they have vibrating nipple
clamps? Oh, I was thinking like suction, maybe using suction, There are now suction toys. If you guys are not checking out the links in the description of this podcast, if you aren't very sex toy savvy, you're missing out on an introduction to a lot of cool new toys that are out there. There's a suction technology out there that is great for the clit, but also for the nipples. That could be exciting.
And another trick, I don't know if it'd be a trick or a tip. Let's say you and your partner are maybe sitting on the couch, watching a movie. Maybe he's really into the movie. And you're like, oh man, I'm so fucking horny.
That happens.
It does. And, instead of just going down on him, you can maybe go down him, then whip out your tits and start titty fucking him. You would be the initiator and you would be the aggressor and you would be in control.
So he is sitting on the couch. So you just really have to lean over.
Or kneel in front of him. Men really kind of.
Well,
when a woman kneels in front of them, they're like, oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like looking at that, though, as a woman with smaller boobs, I'm not sure would that work for me. Could I get my boobs in there? I feel like you're biased because you can just grab your boobs and stretch them and reach them out. And
it's a good workout, too, because you're going to get some squatting in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Hey, if you can get a workout while you're having some real fun, that's a win.
Why not? I'm all for that. So that's, I was thinking another position, but that, I don't know. Again, I'm just making these up in my head.
Maybe if position.
What is another? Kneeling would be another position, but he would have to squat down. Unless you just
he'd need to be sitting down.
Or you'd need to kneel on like a stool. Oh, that's kind of hot too. Like my ottoman over there. That might put me at the right level. Depending again on the height of your partner. So you're going to have to like kind of
play
around with different positions. Are there any boob sex positions that outside of laying down, kneeling, that you can think of?
Well, I have had the partner standing and me squatting down and
right. Yeah.
It's like that's a fun thing about sex is there is no real playbook on positions. Like you can come up with stuff.
I guess kind of in the 69 position. If your boobs are bigger, you couldn't be in that position on top and hold your boobs together because you got to have your arms to hold you up. But you could at least like slide your chest over his cock. Oh, that's true.
So you don't always have to be the one squeezing your boobs.
I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
You're right. They could do that. They could reach down if their arms are long. I'm pretty short, so Yeah, I like that. Or, yeah, the 69 position, you could probably do both ways. Like if I'm laying down and they're on top, then their balls would be in my face if they were on top.
True. I mean, unless you like a good tea bag.
You would be teabagged and there'd be a
doing some
butt right
ball suckling.
Butt play. Their butt would be right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could do that. Anyways, all right, guys, I think you're getting the idea, the positions that this works in. I'm sure your own mind. I mean, I would suggest, and I imagine you concur, that the first time, keep it simple.
Yes.
You got to figure out how the cock in question works with the tits in question and what works best for you.
Yeah.
But I think probably what sounds like it's the most important for women to think about, and I certainly didn't when I started imagining this conversation. I didn't think about all the things I could do to myself to make sure I was getting pleasure. I want to add to this conversation. Yes, you could do stimulating your own nipples. Your partner can stimulate your nipples. You can do nipple clamps, or apparently there are vibrating suction toys for your nipples. But don't forget, there are toys you can actually have inside of your vagina stimulating you while this is going on.
Yep.
You can have a vibrator inserted, or, if he is the one managing your breasts, you can have a suction toy on your clit, or you can have a butt plug in, or you can have, you don't have to just have the boob sex going on. You can get the full body experience by adding toys into this experience,
Absolutely.
which would, for some people who are into that, heighten the eroticism of the whole thing. Then it's just added into your play session, So that was something I was thinking. I'm like, that would be a sexy thing to do if I had something going on inside of me already, especially if I had there are toys out there that I could insert inside myself and also give my partner the control of.
Yes.
That would be hot. So mix it up. Yeah?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Make sure you're taking care of that clit while you're getting titty fucked.
Don't forget the clit.
Don't forget the clit. So cheers to using toys while being titty fucked. Cheers. Well, and just in general. All right. We're going to move on to, when should this occur during sex? I mean, at any point, right?
Right. At any point. I mean, you don't have to actually do it to the point of ejaculation. If you're with a penis owner, it could be part of your foreplay to other intercourse.
That's right. It can be foreplay.
Or it can be the act itself.
It can be the whole thing, the whole shebang. You're just getting titty fucked for the day.
Yep.
So while we're talking about that, and we're talking about when it occurs during your sex play session, when it occurs as the final act, the coup de grace. Is that what we call it? The coup de grace?
Yeah, let's.
The grand act, and he comes. I think probably a big question on everybody's mind is, where does that come go?
Well,
I mean, it's aimed right towards.
So if you're laying on your back, more than likely you're going to get a pearl necklace. Maybe the bottom of your chin, unless he purposely pulls it out of your tits and shoots it on your face.
So yes, let's be. I think give everybody a fair warning. The chance that come might you
might get some.
You might get some on your face. I mean, there's always the option of him pulling back and coming on your stomach. This should be negotiated in advance, folks. This is the part of the act, especially if you're doing it the first time, but every time you do it, yeah, you can titty fuck me. Do not come in my face or on my, whatever. You get to talk about where that cum ends up. But beware if you're oh, come on my neck or whatever, your face is on the splash pad area.
I mean, and if they handle their tool well, and you're like, I don't want it on my face, they can actually hold their penis down to where it would just shoot on your chest and roll back on your neck if you're on your back.
I would hope so.
Or let's say you're doing the whole squat while they're on the couch. And you're like, because that, if it goes off, it's going straight in your face in that position. If you don't want that, then, you need to verbalize that.
Let me know.
And then you would pull away, and let's say you want it on your tits, and they can hit you on their tits, or maybe you want to turn over and have them, shoot their wad
and then they
on
can finish it off.
Your ass crack.
Right. Yeah. Or you can tie it in. Or you could finish it off with a blowjob.
You could.
And decide what you want to, whether you're swallowing or not.
Right.
That's up to you at that point. So that's an option. Now, if you have listened to our Semen Facial podcast, obviously, and you're thinking about doing this with your partner, but you're like, you feel weird about their cum on your neck or on your face, please take time to listen to the Semen Facial podcast, because I think it can alleviate a lot of the anxiety around that. Or no, hopefully what it will do is alleviate a lot of the ick factor with that. I think it's fair for all of us to feel icky about certain sex and bodily, fluid activities that come up during sex. But I think in that podcast, we were really good about covering, asking yourself, why do I find this icky? And maybe working through some of that mental stuff.
Yeah, it got pretty deep.
It got pretty deep. And so if you're interested in adding this act to your sex repertoire of acts, obviously you got to really think about how that's all ending for you. You're going to have that conversation with your partner. You're going to have to decide, do I want to experiment with allowing some cum on my face or not? But I highly suggest really going through your thought processes and feelings around that. And that podcast, I think, is really helpful. I still have not had a semen facial. I think it could be a fun way to tie in a semen facial if you're open to that.
Definitely.
And have it be a super sexy, exciting event. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had a boob sex ending in semen facial? Have you done that combo yet?
Yeah, when it's been finished off with head.
Oh, okay.
Fellatio.
Okay, so.
Yeah. And, talking about that whole game plan, also, things can change. And so one thing that we always talk about on this podcast is how important communication with your partner is.
Absolutely.
So let's say you guys, you and your partner talk about it. You're like, okay, let's do this. You're like, I don't want any cum on me.
Yeah.
And then in the act, you change your mind.
You get excited.
Which you can do.
Right.
Just communicate that.
Right.
Because that's probably going to be really sexy to them. When you're like, oh, I want you to come all over my tits. Or I want you to come and give me that glistening pearl necklace. Or maybe you decide, okay, I'm hot. I'm in it. I'm ready for the semen facial.
Right.
But you can communicate that. So if things change in the moment,
that's okay.
That's okay. That's why communication is so important.
Right. Your sex situation, you set it up front. You say, I want to try this, babe. I want, I listened to this podcast and these, ladies made me think, why not give it a try? Can we try that? But please, I'm not, do not come on my chest or my face. Maybe we'll end with sex or whatever. But then you're in it and something happens and you're like, this is way better than I thought. I have shared, I think in past podcasts, I have learned in the last year, I've always thought I was a decent communicator during sex, and I'm not the best communicator during sex, which might surprise everybody. As much as I communicate about sex openly on this podcast, when I'm in an act of sex, sometimes I fall short on words. And I think that has also led to a lot of disappointing sex for me in my history. I've also felt ashamed to when I had that, a dirty thought in the middle of sex and I'm getting heated up and I'm like, oh, you go back, you start flipping through the dirty fantasies that you've gotten from porn or like erotica. And you're like, God, I wish in this moment this thing could happen. But if I verbalize that, my partner's going to think I'm whatever number of dirty, trashy, she's slutty. Ooh, I don't want to be with a woman that would be into that. I mean, I'm hoping that in this day and age, we know that that's sex shaming, slut shaming. And if you have a partner who's like that, they can just fuck right off.
Tell them to fuck off and
off.
Get down the road.
That's right. So being able to, if you have a moment, you're like, I do want to do that, then just say to your partner. You can even stop and restart. You can have that conversation. They can keep stroking themselves while you verbalize like, I'm really turned on. I want to use this vibrator on my clit. Will you finish off on my neck or face? Being able to do that in the moment is important.
And, even the opposite. So let's say you game plan this with your partner and you tell them that you want them to
give you your first facial.
And in the moment, you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. You absolutely can change your mind. I think that's something that as women, we sometimes struggle with is that we feel like if we go into a situation sexually that we can't change our mind on boundaries that were set anytime in the moment. Even if you're like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to go forward anymore. You have that right. And so, if you change your mind, verbalize it.
So cheers to that. We can change our mind.
Anytime.
All right, guys, let's talk about why. Because I know probably at the beginning, a lot of you were like, and maybe some of the whys have been answered, but let's really strategically answer why titty sex? Why fucking the boobs? It does seem sort of, I don't know, like from my perspective, having not integrated into my sex life, at first it felt like, oh, it's sort of one of those cliched acts that, seem silly that nobody does. Now, you had brought up some good reasons why a woman would want to have the option of titty sex. You want to share that with listeners?
Yeah. So, while some women are comfortable with period sex, there are some of us, like myself, who are not comfortable with period sex. So this is an alternative because for some reason you're horny while you're, I don't know about others, but
I'm not, but
I am.
Right.
And so this is a way to get aroused, to get some sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
I have no problem with like my clit being played with. I just don't want anything
inside of you.
Inside of me. I will have a tampon in because I want to be sure that the dam is plugged.
So my question is, do you, because for you, this is, you said you're horny, so you want to have sex. And so this is a good alternative. So for you, do you get a lot of sexual satisfaction from your boobs?
I do.
Because I know a lot of women, not a lot. I know a couple women who don't get any. They're like, I don't really get anything out of my boobs. So, but for you, and I think I've also known a lot of women that really enjoy the breast stimulation.
And also, I know that there's been others in our circle that have been on this podcast that also have said this, that I'm really mentally stimulated. So like my biggest erogenous zone is my brain.
Yeah.
Like you can just talk words
dirty
and get me going.
Right.
And so I don't know if it's really that my tits are so like sensitive and stuff, or if it's more like that whole emotionally like stimulated.
Right.
Like I'm like, this is hot. Like because your male partner, I don't know a guy out there that's going to say they don't like or have not ever, if they've never done it, have not fantasized about it.
Right.
It seems to be the one thing.
Wait. I do. Hey, guys, men or people, humans with penises that are out there. If you are repelled by the idea of titty sex, will you please reach out to me? I want to hear about that. If you're just kind of like, that sounds dumb, I'm not going to try it. I also am curious about your perspective. Is anyone repelled by that? How would you be repelled by it? Now, I do understand why women might be, but I want to talk about what appeals to me about it. What really appeals to me about the idea of boob sex, being titty fucked, I do enjoy. I enjoy several roles in my sex life, but there is just something that is really sexy about being in a submissive position to a partner. It feels to me, although I imagine you could speak to the opposite, but from my imaginings that it's a very like a power dynamic that happens in breast sex, especially if you're on the bottom or if you're restrained. And so the idea of that position, it's like, oh, that is sexy, being able to enjoy that power dynamic that would happen there. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like what would you be, the titty fucky, the receiver? Like, do you feel like you can do that from a femme dom with the boobs? Can you like titty fuck a sub man?
Yeah, why
or
couldn't you?
Cock? I don't know. I can't pick. I've never done it.
Yes,
I'm not
you can.
In my own dynamic. I can't picture it that way. But I'm like, tell me about that.
I mean, so if you're in like a femme dom situation,
right?
Our local expert's not here, so I'll do my best.
Yeah. Lucy, our resident dominatrix.
So there's chairs that are used sometimes where their hands are strapped.
The sub man, you could strap him to a chair. How'd you get in there? What about standing?
Well, that would be the whole like working those inner thighs and glutes by doing that squat. Also, if they are on the bed,
restrained.
I'm
picturing it. Watch out.
Between their legs on your knees.
Oh yeah.
And you could also,
but you can't squeeze your boobs together that way.
Yeah, you could, because you're like leaning down on them. You don't need to.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
I've done it. It's possible.
Again, you've got massive tits. You don't even need to squeeze them together. I mean, let's be fair.
Or, if you have, I can't think of the name, but like the cross.
Oh, what is that called? The cross thing.
Yeah, but anyways.
That's true. Now that.
You could
totally. Yeah. Definitely squatting.
So, and once again, I'm being visual.
Yeah. I wish if you guys could just see the visuals over here.
I'm always visual. I can't help it.
So I think that especially, let's say, if you're really into that BDSM dynamic, for a female or woman, I think that it could be really sexy. I think it could be really, really hot addition. I think if you are in a vanilla relationship and you're like, you don't want to get into all of the BDSM, I still think it's a very sensual, sexy.
I mean, one of the biggest turn-ons for me is the arousal my partner gets from it.
Right.
So when my partner is clearly into it and getting a lot of pleasure, that makes me hot and aroused.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, my brain is...
Right. I can think of a lot of great dirty talk that could happen during that too.
Oh, yeah. If you're a dirty talker, it gives you so much opportunity.
It's funny. I have never been good at giving dirty talk. Oddly enough, as much as I'm a word person, in bed, I I kind of clam up, but I love to be talked dirty to. And I am actually just right now, in this last year, really learning how to talk dirty, because I do have a dirty script in the back of my head.
Then just voice
I
it.
know, I'm learning how to do that, and it's super hot. But yeah, I think it would, I understand why someone might say boob sex. That's so dumb. Why do that? But like, I mean, why not add this to your sex repertoire, your sex box, your list of acts that you want to do together.
At least give it a shot.
At least give it a shot.
Don't knock it till you try it.
That's right. I mean, why wouldn't a cock feel good on a nipple?
Oh, it
Yeah.
does. Or, there's that pre-ejaculate.
I was just thinking about that. You could just add us a little bit of lube.
They could take like the tip of their penis and rub it around your nipple with that pre-ejaculate. That's pretty similar.
That would be sexy.
That's pretty hot.
That is sexy. And if you don't like your partner's cum or ejaculate, again, start asking yourself why. Because my friends know, like Deanna and I, Ruby and I have known each other for a very long time. And I was very vocal about really hating semen. I mean, really hating semen. And just being like, it is a mess. I don't want it all over me. It's like mucusy. I mean, I had all these reasons. I was like, why, oh, why can't, men ejaculate some like
Dust.
Powder, baby powder, something that freshens me up afterwards. And in sort of my own sexual journey, I'm still like, I have moments where I'm like, in my refractory period, I'm like, oh, I don't want to, like, I'm ready to be clean, or I don't want to like reach over and touch it or whatever. But even that's starting to dissipate just a little bit. I would wish that for any woman who still likes to play with cocks that ejaculate. I would not at all want the repulsion that I experienced for women who continue to have those relationships. So, but back to why would a woman who's in a sexual relationship with another woman or a vulva owner want the strap-on titty fuck? And I think that comes back to like, if you like that power dynamic, the visual stimulation of I can imagine being in a dominant situation with another woman with a strap on, and enjoying the visual of looking down at having that act with a woman.
Right.
Like that, when I put myself in that position, I'm like, that would be fucking hot. In which case I'm like, oh, that's why a guy would enjoy it. Like even, they also get more of a physical stimulation. However, there are strap-ons, ladies, that come with vibration and
if you're
stimulation.
Not using a strap-on that has the little rocket pocket, you need to be.
Out. Yes. So in which case you can actually have that stimulation for yourself while getting the visual satisfaction of watching, your partner's beautiful breasts, sliding against this thing and then giving her nipple stimulation and stuff like that. So I had not until today even considered that. Actually, I don't think I had considered the idea of two women doing this sex act until you were here and we were kind of like going over what we wanted to talk about. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I could get into that.
Right. And if you have not heard the pegging episode, if you want to go back, we kind of talk about that dynamic when as a woman you're wearing a strap-on. It is a very different feeling.
Yes.
And it's a very, you're definitely in the dominant role. And that's one of the turn-ons for me is like,
there's a rush that comes with that for sure.
Because it's pretty obvious that even if you are in a situation with a male partner or a female partner, non-binary, when you have a strap-on on, you really are the dominant one in that situation. And that's part of the rush for me anyways. And you are in sole control of giving that pleasure.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when someone sucks your cock and it's a strap-on.
Oh, I've never done that.
Oh, really?
I have not had my cock sucked.
Well, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's
so you have had this done before. Was it a woman or a man who sucked your cock?
A man.
One thing I want to say before we close out this podcast is we bring up a simple sex act. Boob sex up front sounds simple. It's easy to dismiss it as like, that's just like some dumb, like cliche thing from whenever. Nobody does that. But when you really start diving into, like when I really start thinking about these things that are out there that I've not done, that are so basic. I mean, it's right there for you. And I start questioning why I haven't done it. I start questioning, well, if I did it, how could it be exciting? I'm going to be selfish. I want it to be fucking exciting for me. Like I know how I can get a partner off and why it would be exciting to him, but I want to know, like, why would I want to do this? Because I feel very strongly about not engaging in sex acts that I don't want to. Like I want to be all in. I want to get something out of it. I want to feel satisfaction. I want to feel sexy. So I start like trying to imagine what would make this exciting for me. And through conversations, through research, which I do prior to these, oftentimes I'm surprised at how I'm like, God, that could be exciting. That could be sexy. I like to have the opportunity, you know, whatever it is. And so you take one simple sex act. It sounds very simple. A guy walks up to you, you push your boobs together, he like pumps away and is done. That's how in my mind it was prior to this conversation. But this actually could be worked into a whole array of scenarios that could last for a couple of minutes. It could last for 15 to 20 minutes. It could be with a female partner. It could be with a male partner. I could be dominant. I could be submissive. I could get stimulated. I could get some fun nipple play and I could have toys attached. It could be BDSM experience. It could be a facial experience. It's kind of amazing to me how if you take time to stop and not go with your first judgment, you may open the door to a new opportunity that you end up loving. Raise your hand. Give me like some sign. Who all's out there that's getting titty fucked? I want to hear from women or men. Tell me, are your female partners letting you titty fuck them? Like I want to know. I want from people, all humans out there. I would love to hear from women who are strap-on titty fucking each other.
I mean, I've been to sex clubs and clearly you see it there. So it's happening. And it's weird because I would think if anal is out there and people are more open about anal sex, that boob sex is a lot milder in my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, except like it could end in the facial, then it's not mild.
But it doesn't have to.
I'm still intimidated by the facial.
It's easy to not end in a facial.
Right.
And personally, I would think if you're saving yourself for marriage because you're a good Christian girl.
Boob sex is for you.
Right. Instead of having anal, I would much rather go to the boob sex.
Boob sex is for you. Hey, that's great advice. And again, if you are a Christian woman and you, I don't want to shame your choice of religion, but again, this is something that could be acceptable. God damn it. I think we fucking covered titty fucking, mammary, intercourse. That's right. I actually found what it was called, mammary intercourse, and boob fucking, boob sex. I think we gave you a solid Boob Sex 101. If you disagree, guess what you do? ANNETTE, Annette at SheExploresLife.com. Feel free to tell me how it should have been done. I dare you. I'm inviting some mansplaining even.
Oh, yeah. Mansplain this.
Mansplain this. You can find us on social media, Locker Room Talking Shots on Instagram, Facebook. Also, head over to She Explores Life on Instagram and Facebook. Am I missing anything? Oh, lockerroomtalkpodcast.com. Lockerroomtalkpodcast.com. You can go there and find all the fun information. And stay tuned. We have lots of fun topics coming up. We've already told you some we're going to be looking into, and we have some announcements coming up soon about additional places you're going to be able to go and join in on some fun conversations with us. So until next time, cheers. We'll see you in the locker room. Ring loop.